New York City as we know it today has been shaped by the subway. More than any other public works program or municipal plan, it has been singularly responsible for the city's growth and global competitiveness for 100 years. Its profound impact, particularly in the outer boroughs, surpasses such widely acclaimed projects such as the Brooklyn Bridge and the Robert Moses Highway Network.
In 1898, the unification of New York City was accomplished. Old methods of transportation were inadequate, and the need for a subway system was clearly evident. The first contract for this exciting new project was awarded to John B. McDonald. However, the task of running the subway would be a monumental undertaking, and so the Interborough Rapid Transit Company, also known as the IRT, was incorporated in 1902 as an operating company to run the subway. The first New York City subway triumphantly opened on October 27, 1904. It was an event like no other that New Yorkers had ever seen. Passenger congestion was so acute that one newspaper reporter wrote, "It was immediately evident that the cars did not have enough doors, the trains did not have enough cars, the subways did not have enough trains, and the city did not have enough subways." But for the average New Yorker, the new subway system was a success, and it put New York City on the map for having completed a great public work.
But without subway cars, there would be no subway, in which millions of New Yorkers and visitors to the city rely on day and night to get them to and from their destinations. The subway backers' motto, City Hall to Harlem in 15 minutes, would become a standard that these subway cars made of wood and eventually of steel would live up to for years to come.
Prior to the opening of the subway, a great deal of thought went into designing the new cars. The main concern of designers and engineers was safety. Using their expertise, they worked tirelessly to create the safest cars possible, and by 1904, the rolling stock arrived, and the new subway opened.
Well, the very first cars ordered were called composite cars because they were composite of wood and steel frames, steel in the frames. But they had wooden sides and with copper sheething over the lower part. And they were designed to preclude the operation of railroad freight cars through the tunnels. They were 51 feet long and 9 feet wide, roughly. The tunnels were designed to follow the layout of the street, the routes of the street, so as a result, there were very sharp turns. And the original, August Belmont, who originated the subway, did this deliberately because he was afraid that the so-called robber barons of the railroads would see this wonderful way of getting freight delivered throughout the city, and they'd try to move into the subway system.
Finally, a car that was 60 feet long and 10 feet wide, that used one motor and one trailer truck, became the optimum choice. These dimensions are still used today for the new B division cars that serve the letter lines.
In the early 30s, with WPA assistance, Brooklyn Manhattan Transit, also known as the BMT, initiated the building of two multi-section articulated experimental cars using the most modern materials available. Pullman built the Green Hornets using aluminum, and Budd built the Little Zephyrs out of stainless steel. They were delivered in 1934.
The BMT was faced with the need to have a car capable of running on elevated structures, as well as entering the tunnel system. The older elevated lines could not withstand the weight of the B and D-type cars.
So in 1934, they came out with two experimental lightweight trains, and they were also articulated.
The Multis were the first cars to run on both the elevated structures and in the subway. They were the longest articulated units ever operated on the New York City transit system.
The R17s, R21s, and R22s were the replacement cars for the IRT high-voltage cars that were still in service after half a century. These three similar classes of cars were built by the St. Louis Car Company.
Between the late 1940s and early 1950s, new IRT cars began to serve the Queens section of the IRT. The R17, R21, and R22 replaced the old high-voltage equipment, including the 1904 Gibbs car.
About 1960, we came in with an R22, which ran on the Grand Central as a Grand Central station as an ATO unit, automatic train operator, where at that time we had a train operator, or motorman as they called him in those days. He sat in a cab, and all he did was monitor the train. As a safety procedure, they put a train operator or motorman in the cab.
The R21 and R22 were almost identical to the R17, including performance. One of the most beloved trains by passengers was the Redbird. It was comprised of 5 distinct types of IRT cars that became famous for their longevity and presence on the IRT lines. With picture windows and a powder blue and off-white paint scheme, the R33S was a small fleet of 40 single cars, manufactured in the World's Fair car configuration. The R36s were attractive new cars for the 1964 World's Fair. They replaced the R12 and R14 on the Flushing line. On the BMT and IND lines, the Budd Company won the bid for the R32s. Their proposal was for all stainless steel cars, saving weight and reducing maintenance. The R32 class is still running after 40 years.
The design of the subway car is based on an evolution, whereby we look at the design of previous car classes and learning lessons from what worked, what didn't work, we will specify the new car requirements. As long as we follow this process of evolution, we had a lot of success. So what we need at the MTA, we don't need revolution in design. We need step-by-step evolutionary process, which guarantees that our trains are modern, they have the latest technology, however, it's proven and it's reliable.
New York City's subway system, although not without its problems, is the lifeline for New Yorkers and visitors to the city, and a mode of transportation that other countries seek to emulate. From the first immigrants in the 1800s to contemporary residents today, New York City is still one of the most vibrant and exciting places to live and visit. And the subway cars are ready to take you to your destination in a New York minute.